Mike Tyson was publicly humiliated by a group of high-tech robots during a live showcase. But within minutes, the entire situation flipped, and the machines that mocked him became the ones exposed. Stay with this story, because what happened after the laughter faded completely changed the energy in the room. The tech arena was packed. LED panels flashed futuristic graphics across the walls. Engineers stood proudly beside their newest invention, a series of humanoid combat training robots designed to simulate professional fighters. The demonstration was marketed as revolutionary. Artificial intelligence meets elite boxing analytics. And to prove their confidence, the organizers invited one of the most feared heavyweights in history, Mike Tyson. When he walked onto the stage, the applause was massive. Cameras zoomed in on his face, calm and unreadable. The host hyped the crowd, explaining that the robots had been programmed with decades of boxing footage, including Tyson's prime years. That means, the host said with a grin, they know all your moves. The crowd laughed. Tyson didn't. The first robot stepped forward. Its mechanical frame gleamed under the spotlight. Digital eyes flickered blue. Analyzing historical fight data, it announced in a flat tone. A large screen behind them displayed slow-motion replays of Tyson's past losses. The audience reacted with mixed gasps and uncomfortable laughter. Identifying vulnerability patterns, the robot continued. Over-reliance on aggressive forward pressure. More laughter. The second robot rotated toward him. Simulation predicts a 78% chance of fatigue after 3 high-output rounds. The screen flashed graphs and statistics. It wasn't playful banter. It was clinical dissection. The humiliation wasn't loud. It was analytical. All eyes shifted to Tyson. He stood still, hands relaxed at his sides, face expressionless. The host tried to keep the tone light. Looks like they've studied you pretty well. One of the robots raised its mechanical arm and mimicked Tyson's peekaboo boxing stance in exaggerated robotic fashion. The crowd laughed again. But something about the moment felt off. Because this wasn't a rival fighter talking trash. It was a machine listing his flaws like code. Tyson slowly stepped forward. The floor seemed to vibrate with each step. Let me ask you something, he said, voice low and steady. The robot's head tilted. Query acknowledged. You say you know my weaknesses, Tyson continued. Do you know what it feels like to get hit? The crowd quieted instantly. The robot processed for a moment. Pain response simulation available. He shook his head slightly. No. I didn't ask about simulation. Silence. The second robot attempted to interject with another statistical projection. But Tyson raised his hand. Do you know fear? The digital eyes flickered again. Fear categorized as biological stress response. Not applicable. A ripple moved through the audience. Tyson stepped closer until he was inches from the robot's metallic frame. Then you don't know boxing. The room went still. The host hesitated. Engineers backstage scrambled, unsure whether to escalate the demonstration or pivot. The first robot attempted to regain momentum, demonstrating predictive counter. It launched into a slow-motion simulation of dodging Tyson's classic left hook. The crowd laughed again, but weaker this time. Tyson didn't move aggressively. He didn't throw a punch. He did something far more unsettling. He stared. No blinking. No theatrics. Just presence. The robot's sensors attempted to track facial microexpressions. Data flashed rapidly on the screen behind them. Reading anomalous emotional baseline, it reported. The audience murmured. Tyson leaned toward the microphone. You can copy movement, he said quietly. You can copy numbers. He tapped the robot's metal chest lightly. But you can't copy hunger. The applause started slowly. The sentiment in the room shifted. The humiliation attempt began collapsing. The engineers triggered a higher-level sparring simulation. The robot's movements became faster, sharper. It attempted to circle him mechanically, projecting holographic punch trajectories. Tyson didn't chase it. He didn't overreact. He adjusted his stance, subtle, grounded. The difference was immediate. The robot's predictive algorithm began recalculating rapidly. Tyson wasn't moving like archival footage. He wasn't following patterns. He was improvising. Deviation from historical data, the robot announced. The crowd reacted, because suddenly, the machine that claimed to know him was confused. Tyson feinted slightly, not striking, just shifting weight. The robot misread it and executed a defensive maneuver too early. Laughter exploded, but this time not at Tyson, at the robot. The second machine attempted to compensate, projecting a fatigue estimate again. Tyson smirked faintly. "You predict exhaustion," he said, "but you don't understand will." The energy had fully flipped. The giant screen behind them showed the robot's probability models dropping in confidence levels. "Error margin increasing," it stated. The audience roared. The humiliation had reversed. The machines that dissected him were now exposed as limited. Tyson stepped back calmly. He didn't need to prove power physically. He had already demonstrated unpredictability. And unpredictability is something algorithms struggle to dominate. One of the robots froze momentarily, recalibrating. Its arm hung midair. A soft mechanical whir echoed awkwardly through the arena. The host attempted to recover the narrative, but it was too late. The crowd was chanting Tyson's name. The engineers powered down the sparring mode. The robots stood still, silent, analyzing. Tyson leaned into the microphone one final time. "You can study me," he said, "but you can't be me." The applause didn't fade quickly. It rolled through the arena in waves, bouncing off steel beams and LED panels. Engineers exchanged uneasy looks while the host forced a smile that didn't quite land. The demonstration had been designed to showcase dominance of machine precision over human unpredictability. Instead, it had exposed something far more complicated. Tyson stepped away from the microphone without celebrating. No raised gloves. No dramatic exit. Just a calm walk toward the backstage corridor as security and event coordinators hurried to keep up. Behind the curtain, the energy shifted from spectacle to tension. One of the lead engineers approached him first, a tall man with augmented reality glasses still flickering with live data from the robot's performance metrics. "That wasn't supposed to go that way," he admitted. Tyson stopped. "It went exactly the way it was supposed to," he replied evenly. The engineer frowned. "The algorithms are built on thousands of fight simulations. They adapt in real time." Tyson nodded once. "But they adapt to patterns," he said. "Not intent." The comment hung in the air. A younger developer, clutching a tablet, hesitated before speaking. "We didn't mean to disrespect you. The loss footage, the vulnerability analysis, it was just data." Tyson looked at him carefully. "When you turn a man into data," he said, "you forget he's still a man." Silence again. On a monitor nearby, the robot's internal logs were replaying the encounter. Lines of code showed spikes in uncertainty variables. Predictive confidence had dropped nearly 40% when Tyson deviated from expected rhythm. The lead engineer zoomed in. "See this?" he said quietly to his team. It couldn't lock onto him once he stopped behaving like archived footage. Tyson overheard. "That's because I'm not archived," he replied. One of the sponsors entered the room visibly frustrated. "We needed this demo to show superiority. Investors were watching." Tyson turned slowly. "You showed something better," he said. "You showed the limit." That wasn't the answer they wanted, but it was the truth. Meanwhile, out in the arena, the crowd was still buzzing. Social media feeds were exploding. Clips of the moment where the robot miscalculated the feint were already trending. Commentators weren't talking about machine dominance anymore. They were debating instinct versus intelligence. Backstage, the engineers powered one robot back on in diagnostics mode. Its voice activated at lower volume. In counter-analysis, subject displayed non-quantifiable psychological influence. Tyson raised an eyebrow. "Non-quantifiable?" he repeated. "Yes," the robot responded. "Emotional impact altered environmental variables." The room went quiet again. "Environmental variables?" Tyson asked. Crowd sentiment shift. Opponent confidence recalibration. Observer perception bias. The irony was impossible to ignore. The machine had just admitted that Tyson influenced the room itself. Not through force, but through presence. The lead engineer exhaled slowly. It's saying you changed the atmosphere. Tyson shrugged slightly. That's fighting. Another developer stepped forward with curiosity replacing defensiveness. If we redesigned the system to factor emotional influence, would it be closer? Tyson thought for a moment. It would be closer, he said. But still not there. Why? Because you can measure reaction, Tyson replied. You can't measure purpose. The words settled deeply. Purpose wasn't something that appeared in spreadsheets. It didn't show up in reaction time metrics. It wasn't coded in predictive models. And yet it dictated everything. One of the investors, who had been watching silently, spoke up. So what you're saying is the human element can't be replicated? Tyson didn't rush his answer. It can be imitated, he said. But imitation isn't identity. The robot processed again. Identity defined as... Tyson cut it off gently. No, he said. Identity isn't a definition. It's lived. The machine went quiet. For the first time since activation, it had no immediate response. The lead engineer removed his glasses and rubbed his temples. We built them to predict violence, he said. But we didn't build them to understand resilience. Tyson nodded once more. That's why they thought they could embarrass me. A pause. And that's why they couldn't. The mood in the room shifted from defensiveness to reflection. One developer began rewatching the footage not to find errors, but to understand. Every time Tyson adjusted his breathing, every time he paused longer than expected, every time he let silence stretch, those weren't physical moves. They were psychological ones. And the robots had no framework for that. Eventually, the sponsor sighed. We'll spin this as a collaborative evolution. Man and machine learning from each other. Tyson gave a faint half-smile. That's smarter. As he prepared to leave, the lead engineer stopped him one last time. If we invite you back, he asked carefully, would you train the system? Not with footage. With you. Tyson looked toward the powered-down robots lined against the wall. If they're willing to learn, he said calmly, I'll teach. The statement wasn't arrogant. It was steady. Outside, reporters were already forming narratives. Headlines were shifting from "Robots Outclass Boxing Legend" to "Legend Rewrites the Code." But the real story wasn't humiliation or redemption. It was revelation. The event had started as a showcase of technological dominance. It ended as proof that data has edges, and humanity lives beyond them. As Tyson exited the building, the arena lights dimmed behind him. The robots remained inside, silent and recalculating. Not because they had been defeated physically, but because they had encountered something their system wasn't designed to compute. And that realization, that's what they truly regretted.